Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of VMTV Vaults with myself, Carl Diamond, and my guest for this episode, who is Mr. Jake Hadley. By the time you're watching this episode, there's probably some big news out around Mr. Hadley, and that is that he's going to be making a Contender Series debut in the UFC on September 21st. Jake is the newest fighter to go from Cage Warriors to the UFC. Obviously, he was the Cage Warriors flyweight champion after defeating Luke Shanks. And with such an impressive record, it seemed obvious that he would make a UFC debut of sorts in the coming months. And this is it, Contender Series. Jake always tells it as it is. Some absolutely killer lines all over the place when we talk about the flyweight division and what he's going to do to it in the coming years. So I'm just going to let the man speak for himself, Mr. Jake Hadley. Okay, it is my absolute pleasure to be joined by the latest Cage Warriors fighter to move on to the UFC, Mr. Jake Hadley. Jake, you'll be competing in the Contender Series on September 21st. How does that feel, mate, to just hear that?
Feels good, but it just feels normal. I expect this. I expected a straight contract, but if I got to kill another man, then that's what I got to do. No big deal.
Did you expect this at this point?
Yeah, I thought realistically I should already have a contract in the UFC, but in my opinion, I think they're trying to build the Contender Series. Use me to build the Contender Series, because I don't see why I'm even on it, really. I'm too good to be on it. But I guess I've got to prove that come September.
Also, I guess in a way, as someone who enjoys the Contender Series, I like that you get to know a fighter before you ever see them fight. So for people who aren't, who haven't seen you fight before, they get to know about you before they ever see you fight, and then you get to go out there and they get to see you do your thing. I think that might help as well. Is kind of, I'm sure you would have preferred just a straight up contract, but people will get that exposure before you even fight in an octagon. Like, they'll get to know who you are. Do you see that as a positive? Or I feel like the reaction that you've given me there, like, and I know from watching your interviews, you'd rather just go in there and make a statement with what you do.
Yeah, well, I guess like you say, get the public to get to know me more or whatever. But I ain't really too bothered about that anyway. I'm just bothered about kicking someone's face in, you know what I mean, and getting closer to my goal of being UFC champion. So I don't care if the public likes me or hates me. I don't even care about that. I just care about violence and hurting someone and getting my dream of being in the UFC and being world champion.
When it comes to this sort of playing out, how prepared were you for the idea of defending the belt again on Cage Warriors? Because I think a lot of people, expected you to get a UFC call of some kind. But in your own head, what was that? What was that percentage like? Were you like 100% the UFC's next, or?
Well, I'd I'd like I tried to defend my title. So the March show happened, and I didn't defend my title then, but I've offered to defend my belt on the June show. I'd offered to fight that Weasel Aaron Abbey. I'd offered to fight Jack Carter. I'd offered to go up in weight and fight Jack Cartwright and everything. So, but obviously, Cage Warriors they said they want to build the division, and I keep beating all the top guys. I beat all the prospects. They need time to build. So, got to sit on the sidelines and wait because, I've already ruined the division, you know what I mean? So they've got to have time to build, you know what I mean? I guess, got to bring in new guys like that, Aaron Abbey and other people who have been calling it for years, but he don't want none of me anyway. But I ain't even thinking about them no more anyway, because they're all light work for me. But I offered to defend the belt in June, but no, they won't let me know.
One of the things that really surprised me is, I'm sure it didn't surprise you, how fast you went through Cage Warriors. It was literally debut and then title fight straight away, and then it was like there wasn't second guessing when you were saying that you were going to go to the UFC, there wasn't people out there saying, "Oh, but what about this fight next?" It was like, well, yeah, it just makes total sense. Like that blew me away just how fast you made it through that division. Is that obviously obviously partly down to your performances in the division, which were incredible, but I wonder how much time do you think there would have been left for you in the European flyweight division? Because it's not a very deep division. So, like you said, you'd beaten all these guys already. So they would have been, essentially signing guys to try and challenge you. So is that does that play a big part of it? Do you think with the UFC coming now, just the European flyweight division, there's not a lot of depth there to take you on.
Well, to be honest, I thought that I should have fought for the Cage Warriors title straight away. Because I'd already was a world champion. I was the UFC champion. I beat Nankazamulu Zulu, who, at the time, yeah, the same man now that I've beat him. He ain't the same man no more. But before I beat him, he was absolutely killing everyone. I beat him, won the world title there, and then I beat Blaine O'Driscoll, who was a world champion as well on Bellator. I thought that I deserved the title straight away. And if anything, I believe they give me a harder fight than the champion at the time, in Saj, who was a legend of the sport, beat top guys, all the top guys at flyweight. I should have probably went UFC after that. You know what I mean? When I beat Shanks, I thought that definitely defined it that I'm in the UFC. You know what I mean? There's no one else you could put me with in the UK. Anyone from who is there from the UK for me to fight? Like you say, for instance, like Aaron Abbey. If I was to fight him, he'd be a severe betting underdog. Severe. It'd be like Buster Douglas versus Tyson. That's how bad of an underdog he'd be. You know what I mean? The bookies wouldn't even put it on. He'd be that bad of an underdog. Who else are going to give me Hignett or someone else like that? They've got no one from the UK, Europe to fight me. There'd be a severe badly underdog. The only fight what did make sense is the Cartwright fight. And if I fought Cartwright now, I think he'd be an underdog now after his last performance he had. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's nothing really left for me. In Europe, there haven't been anything left for me for ages. I've just been beating up on geezers and ruining potential future UFC fighters like Shanks, who was on the brink of the UFC, Zulu was on the brink of the UFC, Blaine, etc., on the brink of the UFC. I've just ruined their dreams of being in the UFC. You know what I mean? And the UFC needs to sign me up quick before I ruin the whole talent in Europe. Because once they've been in there with me, I changed the whole life. I changed the whole life perspective on MMA. I changed these guys' lives. You get me? As in, once they've been in with me, they realise they're never going to be on this level. You know what I mean? Once they've been in there with me, they realise they're never going to be on this level. But that's a shame for them because they could have got to the UFC. They could have had a few fights and eventually got kicked out or whatever. Just to avoid me. But UFC needed to sign me so that UK MMA flyweight talent can grow. Because with me here, you boys are never going to achieve your goals. So long as I'm around, none of you are ever going to achieve your goals. So it's a good thing I'm gone. And I don't want none of you opening your mouths now I'm gone, yeah, because I'll come down to your gyms and slap you up and rob you. You get me? That's what I'm about.
You always, from the moment I first saw you, you always aiming high. You were always, I'm coming for everybody. When you look at the UFC flyweight division, is it something that you watch? Do you pay a lot of detail to and pay a lot of attention to and look at certain guys, or are you just like, get me in there with anyone?
Yeah, I've watched certain guys, but at the end of the day, I'm a fighting historian. I watch fighting all the time. That's all I do. I go to the gym, train, and watch fighting. That's all about all I do. So I know most of the fighters. You know what I mean? I've watched most of them. So yeah, I've got eyes on everyone. But put it like this, I'm gonna run for the division quite quick. You know what I mean? That's what I think. think I'll be champion within 2 years.
Start killing off the whole of the flyweight scene.
I don't give
Then
a
there's going to be no one coming up. You can't be killing through them that quick, mate. There's going to be no one left.
That's what I'm planning on doing. I'm planning on going in there and taking the belt quick time. You know what I mean? I ain't in this to make up the numbers. I'm in this to be the best. I know I am the best. You get me? There's none of these guys are like me. This is what I'm born to do. I'm born to fight.
So talk to me about your initial reaction then. When you got the call, I'm assuming, to tell you that you were going to be fighting on the Contender Series, what was your initial reaction?
I don't. My initial reaction was yeah, I didn't really have a reaction to it. I just was like I expected to either be in the UFC or on the Contender Series. I was a bit more like, all right, then whatever. I'll just go smash up this geezer, then no problem. You know what I mean? Like, who's the opponent wins the day? That's all I cared about. You know what I mean? Like, no problem. I ain't got an initial reaction. I know I'm gonna be in the UFC and be world champion anyway. So whether it was on Contender Series or whether it's on, if they delayed it by another year, it's gonna happen anyway. You know what I mean? So you can't delay what's already written in the stars. You know what I mean? And that's how it is.
Obviously, like I said, with you running through the flyweight division in Europe, and you saying you should have fought for the UFC fight to go, was there a part of you, from what you just said, it doesn't sound like it, but was there a part of you that when it was Contender Series, you're a little bit like, I've already proven that I'm above these guys outside the UFC. Why am I not there already? Or is it just like, is it more motivation to go out there and put on an even better performance? Or how do you see it?
Yeah, well, it is what it is, and it like I know other lads are on the Contender Series as well. Obviously, I can't mention no names, but they haven't done half of what I've done. Not half. No, I might only be 7-0, but I beat 3 world champions. You know what I mean? I beat all the top boys. I like because like early in my career, I was sent in as a sacrificial lamb to the slaughter to a Zulu warrior, and I'll come up on top and I beat him. So since then I've obviously I've always had top opponents because of beating him. You know what I mean? So even though I'm 7-0, really, if I padded my record like half of you idiots do, you flyweights, I'd be like 20-0, wouldn't I? Really? You know what I mean? So you can look at some of these foreigners I know, like these Russian guys. Yeah, they're 16-0. Oh, it looks great. Oh, 16-0. He's 16-0. Got 14 stoppages. The best guy he's beat, he's 0-3 and 42 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like the guys I'm beating are proper real dudes. They're like my last 4 fights been proper real guys. I forgot what your question was, but there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it, mate. Don't worry about it. Normally this would be the part where I would say, let's talk about the opponent. But first of all, opponents can change, so that's always a bit up in the air. But also, I feel like this opponent is not that significant, at least from the impression I'm getting from you. The name, the record, it don't matter.
The opponents, if you can, obviously, I don't take no one for lightly. Obviously, I watched his tapes. You know what I'm saying? I know about him. I know what he does. I know what he's good at. I know what he's not so good at. I know his style. I'll take everyone seriously. But anyway, you could throw anyone in there anyway. I'm gonna come up on top. But yeah, I'll take him deadly serious, and I'll take his skills deadly serious. Take his weaknesses deadly serious, obviously. So some things in his game he does really well. I'm looking at that, and I'll train for that. You know what I mean? Um, you know. So I take everyone deadly serious, no matter who it is. Even if I was to fight a guy, even if you was to say to me, "All right, mate, down the pub in 10 minutes, me and you are gonna have a fight. I'm gonna game plan for you before I get down that pub to fight you." You get me? That's how I am. She's fighting for me, mate. You know what I mean? I take this deadly serious. So the opponent does matter. I'm watching, but if they they changed the opponent last second. I'm a true mixed martial artist. I can fight anywhere. You know what I mean? So to me, I'm always training anyway. I'm always developing my game anyway. I train my striking, my wrestling, my jiu-jitsu the same amount of times each week. You know what I'm saying? I don't do one style more than the other. Everything's the same. You get me? I'm a true mixed martial artist.
Jake, are you a predictions man? Can we get a prediction for your Contender Series debut against Kleydson Rodrigues?
Yeah, I'll stop him. You know what I mean? But my prediction is I'll win. You know what I mean? I believe I'll stop him. His style, he has to get stopped by the way he fights. You know what I mean? He don't fight conservative like my last opponent who just played conservative off his back and just tried to survive to the end of the bell. I think this guy, he'll come after me, so that'll give me opportunities to finish him. But I just gonna win by any means necessary.
Wicked, mate. Jake, thank you so much for your time, my man. Cannot wait for that Contender Series debut. And let's catch back up soon, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Sweet. Thank you so much, man. Thank you for watching this episode of VMTV Vaults with myself, Kyle Diamond, and of course, Mr. Jake Hadley. We cannot wait for his Contender Series debut. As I said before the interview, the man tells it as it is. So he's a love-or-hate character, but that UFC debut, even if it's the Contender Series, which I think a lot of people thought you'd go straight into the roster, but that Contender Series debut is going to be must-watch TV, so make sure you don't miss it. Also, subscribe so you don't miss an episode of VMTV Vaults, or the episodes of The Violent Mike, which come out every Friday at 8. But until then, goodbye.